We're live. Good afternoon, Tuesday, March 31st. Last day of another month here in 2026. And there's lobbying and then there's lobbying. Every day I get a note here about Group 22A. And Gathering, the publisher of this newspaper, is very interested in activity on 22A. Every single day there's a note about 22A. Also for the committee's info, I was invited to present on our behalf, on your behalf, the T-bill to Senate Transportation this morning at 11:30. And they hosted for a half an hour, asked them quite a few questions about it in general. And then said, thank you for your work, and threw it out the window. So they will have told me that they would be back in touch with a real bill in a few months. So they thanked us for all our hard work and summarily, moved on. So, no, there was lots of good jokes back and forth, but a lot of discussion, particularly in our shared issues with the transportation fund. And they appreciate our effort to try to highlight town highway issues, and public transportation was an issue. The transportation alternatives changes we made came up, and most of the rest of it was around funding and potential new revenue opportunities and why we put the money where we did. What changes we did make. So, but today that means we go to work on the Senate miscellaneous motor vehicle bill, and we have we have the commissioner from the Department of Motor Vehicles here today. Andrew, we appreciate you coming back to committee, and it's been a while since we've been DMV related, some probably 9 months. We did get to hear a little bit from you back in January, but now we want to kind of know what's going on in the DMV, and then maybe there's a highlight of what your opinions on the bill is, but we really want to get brought up to speed, bring everybody, get focused back on Department of Motor Vehicles.
Absolutely. So good afternoon, Andrew Collier, Commissioner of Department of Motor Vehicles for the record. Thanks for having me. Going to spend a little time. I have the team here. We're going to brag a little bit about all the good stuff DMV's been doing this past year. Just to start off, we did find an extra $60 million. That's Candace gonna be coming in and talk about. Just kidding. It's April Fool's Eve. I'm not gonna be here tomorrow. I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, so I had to get my.
That was believable.
Maybe that's your motion tomorrow.
Since I'm not gonna be here tomorrow on April Fool's, I decided to get that one out there. So we did not find $60 million. I just want to be clear. That was a joke.
Everyone listening. Listening.
Problems for the next few years or so.
So we're just gonna jump right into it. Feel free to ask any questions, and we'll take this conversation probably a bunch of different ways in the course of this next hour or so. Early credentials. So that was last year's item that came about midway through the session, with some concerns with some changes that the administration was taking, federal administration, and then how we could protect kind of Vermont's ability to keep issuing. So we all came to a compromise, worked together in here. We were able to implement the changes to the early renewal of credentials upon signage of the bill, which was June 12th of 25. We hit the ground running, and the numbers are behind me, where we stand today on the issuance of those credentials. So it's been great. The team was able to do it as a manual process up through November, and November it got integrated into the new system, which has been kind of seamless at this point. So we've been having a lot of success with it. We're able to be adaptive and reactive to the changes out in the world, and proud of the team at DMV. We're able to move on that quickly.
I just want to quick clarify this. Junior operators 4, and then what is that? Non-driver ID and then operators. Okay. I just want to make sure I, pull that up.
Yeah, we just want to say, I think we realized that it was like sort of thrown in your lap, although you had said we can do this manually. I appreciate the hard work of your team to do this. So.
Yeah, no, this was all the team. I say jump, and then they're the ones who have to actually do the jumping. So it's all on that team. And it was well received, and from what I've heard from the public, anecdotally, process has been seamless. So
It's all over the state. It's a lot more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely amazed that Rutland is the highest of that. I never would have thought that.
Is that right up through maybe February or what ballpark, what that might have been up through?
yesterday,
Oh, okay. Representative White?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Can you just remind me, so the operator licenses, are those all real IDs?
no, so
No.
these would be I'm sorry. Yeah, it'd be both. Yes, sorry.
So yes,
it'd be-
operator
yes.
and
Yeah.
real ID operator.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So,
Representative White?
Is that the numbers on the left? All of them? 1,410 operator, 164 for non-driver.
Yep.
and 4
And then-
for junior.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. The confusion there was if there was a change that happened federally, it wouldn't affect the non-driver or non-real ID category. But in the interim, we were able to handle both sets of IDs. So you have your non-real and real, and we're able to do both as it stands right now.
Representative Lau?
And that's under operator, that's captured under operator, that's non-real and real.
Yeah, that'd be captured into the operator.
Do you have a sense of if this was really people taking advantage of the legislation, or they just came in like 2 or 3 months early, not knowing, I'm like, oh, I guess I'll renew. I mean, I don't know if it's deciphered that, but.
We don't have exact numbers. I will say a lot of snowbirds have utilized this before going south to Florida. We have had a lot of anecdotally people heading out, asking about this and utilizing this.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's very hard to decipher, but I'm just curious if the intent of the legislation on that played out, but.
We're saying a positive unintended consequence?
Somewhat, I feel just like, oh, I can do it now, I mean. It just seems, well, a lot higher than I thought. Not that it's good or bad, it's-
That's early renewal, but that's not related necessarily then to the 3 categories.
Right. And that would be, again, people are going to spend extra money to do this early renewal. So we have seen just anecdotally people who have called that are in Florida or the South for the winter utilizing this beforehand. So along with what we had talked about as intended consequence, we also got feedback, and we saw that a lot right out of the bat in that June, July time frame, people reaching out. And then once the program was running, those questions kind of stopped bubbling up and people were just utilizing the system in place. So we'll jump into employee engagement. This is something that has been a really big success recently at the department. I can't take credit for it. Deputy Commissioner Matt Russo was snooping around on the VTrans, one of the VTrans SharePoint sites, and found the maintenance division, I believe, has an anonymous feedback suggestion box. And this is from day one. This has been, as a team, we've been working on how do we improve morale, how do we improve employee engagement, how do we just do things better. And when the deputy commissioner brought this forward, asking, hey, can we try this out here at the department? Absolutely, wholeheartedly. And so what this is, we just launched this back in January, and the feedback has been really immediate and positive, and both on the employee side and then just on the changes to performance that we're seeing, or we're able to make changes that we probably wouldn't have heard about otherwise. And so this is allowing employees to give feedback. And one of the important parts of when you get feedback is that feedback being heard, kind of that management 101 aspect. So when we get the feedback, every 2 weeks, we send out a list of what the feedback was or that we received, and then what our action plan is going forward. And we send that back out across the whole department so everyone has visibility on what's being done. One of the very first suggestions that we received, and this is where I really want to highlight how great this has been. Our call center sent a feedback note, against anonymous, but it was from the call center, that they were having issues with paperwork. That was when people call, they have copies of the paperwork that gets sent back to get corrected. So when our process unit sends back paperwork, we're not scanning those documents in. So when a Vermonter customer calls saying, "Hey, I received this paperwork back. I need help trying to fill in what's wrong here," the call centers doesn't have the paperwork either in front of them. With that suggestion, we were able to, with our brand new system, get a work item started so we can change the process. So we'll be able to in soon to scan these documents in, so that when people call, everyone has visibility to what is being asked to be corrected. And that we've had a dozen or so comments just like that we've been able to make changes to department processes and make things just a little bit better. And that has been, low cost, easy fix, but it's been, we've been really getting the benefits from that. And that's been a great project, something we're really proud of. And look forward to seeing how that keeps being flushed out in time. I will, before I pass it off here, I know we're in early this year, talk about and the secretary was in also talk about the core modernization project. We don't necessarily have a slide on that in this packet, but I just want to remind everyone, the $55 million approximately project that had DMV undertook, completed back in November. We came in on time and under budget. That's that's not just DMV, that's ADS, that is our partnership with FAST, the contractor, and also the legislature, because you all approved the money to be used on that. The changes we have seen, and we're continuing to see as we continue to change how we do things with modern technology at our hands, has been immense. We're seeing people who make appointments. I just want to clarify, when you make an appointment, in and out of our office within 10 to 15 minutes on a transaction. People have been emailing us about that, how quick they are to get in and out. Even if I had a great interaction, I don't tend to email people, even just life gets away. So the fact that people are emailing that they are able to get in and out so quickly, I think is just in talking about DMV world, is a really great achievement for the employees, for the state. I think this is something that I just want to make sure that we continue to amplify in the years. I mean, we always hear you can't do a project, IT project, any project in the state without it, going over or the time frame. And I think there is a way to do it. So I just want to make sure that, this is amplified and continue to be utilized. It's been great. And then the outcomes, what Vermonters or constituents are seeing, have been immense and really paying out dividends. So thank you, as I stepped into this role with this almost being completed. But as I'm seeing the benefits of it, it's been immense. So thank you for approving that money in the years ago, and certainly the rest of the state agencies that helped with this project. So I'll make sure we are amplifying that as well. Cool.
I hear plenty of things about paper plates and issues that are out there and the lack of inspections and all. But I can't remember the last time I heard somebody complain that they spent too long in the DMV. One of our colleagues came up to me the other day and said, I did everything wrong. I didn't make an appointment. I just showed up. It was right before lunch. And I was still out of there in 45 minutes for whatever I need to do. So anecdotally, I don't receive a whole lot of any DMV complaints other than the ones that are more visible in general, not in the actual service in the center itself. That was about.
Yeah, I would say, my experiences in the last couple of years, using my DMV is good. I think the only down part is it may put some comedians out of job. DMV jokes, so.
That's fair.
I guess if I hear that, I would be pushing back now.
Yeah.
It's not funny anymore.
There's not a lot of stoppages in DMV.
You two are playing your bingo still.
Gotta be up to the point where Oxford has to accept it now.
Chair, since you mentioned it, paper plates, I wasn't gonna talk about it yet, but I'll just make a quick comment on that. That's another area where I would consider actually a success. We had colleagues of yours in the other parts of the legislature reach out this summer. We were starting to get lots of feedback as I settled into my role about the paper plates, and we were able to quickly, though some people were utilizing them, didn't appreciate it, quickly make some changes to that program. It is still paused for the moment. We have a work item. It's in order of priority for items to get changes to our new system. It is in the list. And I know we're going to have more conversations about this coming up. But that was an area where I was, since I come from a law enforcement background, very proud that we were able to make a change to, because we were, in essence, creating two user experiences for Vermonters. Ones that said, hey, we can print out these paper plates and we're okay with that, with you running them past the 60 days. And we're theoretically saying you're breaking the law and you're good. And those that paid everything up front, registered the vehicles, and kind of did it the other way. So I'm happy we've made that change, and I'm excited to have that conversation here in this committee later on about how to move forward on that going forward. So, but personally, I call that one a success in the last year. I'm going to pass this off to our Director of Enforcement, Wade Cochran, and he's going to touch a little bit about all the good things going on in the enforcement world.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Good. Good afternoon, everyone. Wade Cochran, and as the Commissioner said, I'm the Director of Enforcement and Safety. Getting my guys to brag was a little bit of I had to pull some teeth, but I got plenty of information. One of the first topics I'm going to talk about is an identity theft fraud case. I'm not going to go into depth on it, but I did bring some printouts that I'll pass around, and it's the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a press release, and it's kind of an example of what our investigations team does, and very proud of their work. As far as, and I don't have all of the topics up on the slide, but one of the other things I'd like to bring up is the commercial motor vehicle unit. If you all remember some of the pictures I showed you last year, the tires, all the scary things the big trucks have. Our team, we had them set a goal this year, how many inspections, how many vehicles. Their goal was 5,432. And they used that number from past numbers, but they actually inspected 10,219. So they almost doubled that. So proud of that. Out of that, the 331 of them were hazardous material checks on trucks, and 184 of those were buses. So some pretty good numbers that they put up. And one of the other topics that we do have up here is the active high priority persons warrant suite. So the governor's initiative, the commissioner came to me and said, we need to help out. Can we help out in Burlington? I've learned that the answer is yes. To the commissioner, we will. So I got together with the team, with the commissioner as well, and we put a plan in place. Our uniform division did a lot of speed enforcement in the area outside of Burlington, but our investigators at that time put together, thanks to Captain Scott Davidson, he put together a warrant suite because there was, I believe, 30 on the list that were high priority. And our team did a lot of background, a lot of investigation, and went out. Unfortunately, they did not get a lot of people on the list because what they found is that the high number were transient at the time or not living in the area any longer. They did make one high priority arrest in that 8-hour day, which may not seem a lot, but it is when you're doing all that footwork. So a lot of positive feedback from our uniform team being in Burlington or outside of Burlington, working those areas. Some people had said that they, were doing close to 100 miles an hour just to get to work. That's what one of them told one of our inspectors. And why are you here? So that's exactly why we were there. So work zone enforcement was another. I'm sorry.
Representative Thomas.
Sorry to interrupt. Just a question. Could, you mentioned, so you were doing speeding checks like outside of Burlington on 89, or where were those and how frequently were you?
Sure. So what we did, I believe it was a daily basis that we were down there.
Just to jump in, just to rephrase what the director was saying, we were not in the core part of Burlington downtown where VSP did the foot patrols. We were primarily out on the Belt Line, 127, the New North End, and parts of Route 7 on the southern. So we were in Burlington, just not the downtown.
And on a daily,
It was a daily basis.
for what, like ongoing or?
No, it was over about a 2-month period of time. And what we tried to do was main commuter hours, the heavy traffic time. So
It was during the time that VSP was the accountability court
Yeah.
docket. So we weren't in the news a lot with it, but we were in the background doing the speed enforcement. More paperwork.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Representative White.
What kinds of people fall into the category of high priority persons?
So the accountability court, and Commissioner, correct me if I'm wrong, but the accountability court came up with a list of people that were repeat offenders, which they classified as high priority. And once they compiled the list, they essentially gave it to those agencies working in Burlington. And that's the list that we worked from to identify those people and find out where they were.
And you said there were some super speeders, maybe? Were those the types of things
Those-
they were on the list for?
I'm sorry, no, those were not. Those were, they identified the outside area as well too, as not seeing a lot of law enforcement presence. So that's where we kind of helped out since Vermont State Police had downtown and foot patrols and high visibility. So we provided high visibility essentially outside of the city.
Okay, so you're doing speed patrol and looking for high priority persons who were on a list from
The accountability.
The accountability, correct, okay.
Yeah.
And those are kind of repeat offenders of, that's how they were getting into the courts?
Correct. If that's,
Yeah, so trying to go too much of a rabbit hole with it. So they identified, I think it was about
I think I
about 100 individuals or maybe 80, I forget the exact number, that were the repeat offenders that caused majority of the court docket there. And so these were individuals that were on that list.
Okay, thank you, that clarifies it.
Representative.
And so I'm assuming they had warrants and they didn't show up to court or something.
that's correct. Some several times.
Yeah.
So, and just one, I believe it was right before one of the holidays, and it might have been New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. One of our inspectors was able to get a DUI in the morning. It was 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. So on the Beltline. So it was good work done.
Yeah.
Important. Division staffing. We, as of next week, we will be fully staffed. And the only reason we weren't for a while was retirements, people moving. But we're very lucky and I have an amazing staff with a lot of talent coming in. One of the priorities that the commissioner and myself identified was our canine. Sorry,
Representative Brown?
Yeah, just the third bullet, work zone enforcement.
yeah.
What's that about?
I've kind of jumped ahead because I've got a little bit.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So that what we identified with the canine was we would like to see one in every sector. It's a tremendous help to the officers. Any possible narcotics coming into the state, any other illegal activity. We have two, which you can see pictured above. Sergeant Haley is on top with canine Annie. She is actually retiring this month. Raj will be training another dog shortly. And then below him is Inspector Nick Hendry with Lucy. So Lucy is actually a firearms canine who can detect gunpowder residue, firearms, anything like that. So Lucy has had several good finds. She's assisted a lot in the Burlington area with violent crimes. So that's been a big help. And then to continue the canine program, actually, we just hired one gentleman who's coming on with us who has a canine that's fully certified. He will be starting in April. And then we have two more that'll be going to training in May, 1st of May. So we're excited to get them on board. In the work zone, what I wanted to bring up, so last year it was identified with the pilot project, the study with the cameras. Again, the commissioner came to me and said, what can we do to do our part as state police? Unfortunately, didn't have the manpower, what they said, I believe it was, to do all the time, put it in there. So what we came up with, and we worked with Captain Nesto, was our team would go into a work zone that was identified by AOT, and we would work a minimum of 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, at heavy, high priority times, so heavy traffic times. They went in and it was basically any traffic infraction, mainly speed enforcement in those areas. Very successful. Our guys did a great job. They were excited to work it. We're going to continue that again this year. And hopefully we'll get some more positive results. We found obviously an issue with the speed carts or the monitoring. So now we've put an actual person in those work zones.
So your experience, that wouldn't be anything you would normally do. The state police normally would take care of highway work zone.
Right.
But under your experience, there were opportunities to find people speeding in those zones.
There was.
And because there's a sheriff there, having the extra officer yourself or whoever
Right.
could then pursue or go, enforce the
Right.
speed or whatever traffic violation.
So if the sheriff is there, he's generally running a different type of detail. So he would be running the blue lights, hopefully, so when people
Yeah.
know that
Right.
doesn't always happen. So our guys were there to write the tickets, give a warning, whatever the
Yeah.
situation permitted.
It was all in person, no cameras.
All in person.
Right.
Yep.
Well, this just sort of supports the legislation we did pass that says there's an issue with work zones, and then we get some confirmation that sure enough,
Right.
they are worthwhile to do more enforcement, and it sounds like you plan to do more.
We do.
Thank you.
Representative Wells?
What's the, how many years you get out of those canines when those dogs are on?
So it all depends, right? Health reasons could affect anything. That's why the research in the background, you got to find the healthy dogs, the healthy breeders. On average, 8 to 9 years.
Good run.
So it is. We were very lucky with one of them to step back to that. We actually just had one donated from Loyola County Sheriff's. The deputy decided he was out of law enforcement, had had enough, and he donated his dog to Department of Motor Vehicles, which Raj Haley, the sergeant with Annie. So Annie would be retired, the new dog will come in. So it worked perfectly.
Is there a particular breed that you look for to be these law enforcement animals?
There isn't, however, there's certain preferences. So two of the dogs that'll be coming on will be Malinois. They'll be what they call a dual purpose canine. So it'll be drugs and patrol. And like Annie was search and rescue. She did, but she was marijuana certified. So therefore, when the dog's marijuana certified, you can't search for other drugs.
Oh.
So,
Just a quick question. I'm not sure if this is under your bailiwick or not, but recently there was an investigation from making illegal driver privilege cards. I think that just recently happened. Is that something that you oversee, and how does enforcement go about, and just how does that all work to make sure that we have the system in place?
I'm going to divert to one of the.
I can tell you, it's been years. We worked years ago with Liquor Control with some of
Just for your
those.
number record, next.
Sorry, Lieutenant Jeremy Starnes, Enforcement Safety.
Yeah.
So we worked with Liquor Control way back to actually take a police officer, and we actually bought some of these ones that were made in other countries. And we did that to line them up to see how good they were compared to the ones that we produce. This was part of the original transition to the new system we are, because we used to own the equipment and print them in-house. And we went to that centralized issuance because of that. There's a rule of thought in all of once you make a ID, you should be starting to make the next one, because that's how good these other, so we have not done that to my knowledge again. But we then compared it to some of the plate or the license readers, potential readers that Liquor Control had, to see if we found in alarming rates they were as good, if not better. So that went to the drawing board, and under the previous administration, changed some of the security features within. There are a lot. I do a little PowerPoint presentation for the police academy. There are so many security features, and we're constantly re-examining those to do that. So I don't know if I answered it.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, you're getting out of the point, it's like, how prevalent is it? Because it seems like we just have a case, a couple weeks ago where an individual was just arrested for making these, and it sounds like we are past the point of where we need to change things up. So does that need to be done legislatively, or can you do that internally? Because I'm just wondering how widespread these cards are getting out to the general public. And I don't know if you can comment, because it sounds like it's an active case, but yeah.
I believe it can be started internally,
Yeah.
and it's usually generally every few years that you're
Yeah.
talking about that. I don't know who starts that mechanism, but
Yeah,
certainly
but
it's
maybe we
something.
can put that on our radar. I hate to have it extremely easy for the average Joe to start.
I would just add, it's not just our credential, it's our title stock and all the
Yeah.
other security things that we do. There's a constant, and if you can go on at certain sites, you can even buy some of that stock online, and there's underground channels that we learned when doing this that will sell this stuff.
I guess that sort of begs the question, is there somebody in the DMV who's sort of the security point person or sounds like quite a battle of fraud potentials, et cetera. Is there somebody that is or is there a team that is the sort of the security? Is that good?
It's me anymore, but
Yeah.
we have Pat McManaman.
Right.
Who has done some of that.
Right. And he's currently, any of the IDs that are fraudulent, hopefully the people will send them in to us like Liquor Control. Pat's reviewed some of those, so.
I can just speak to another, since we're talking about all the good things. This last year, we're part of AMBA, which is like all the DMV association. I'm sure you've heard of them before. Fraudulent document training is something that we implemented starting this last year of making sure all of our DMV staff, whether they were just hired, they go through a fraudulent doc training. Now we're doing it every 2 years, which we have members with enforcement and safety. I used to teach that. Now we have Detective Jason O'Brien who does that. And we've built up our training so that we know that our first front lines, the folks at our counters, are up to snuff with all the different trends that are up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and so kind of talking about Pat McManaman, I'll move into his area, which is education. So we now have 48 certified driver training schools. And presently, all students can register for the next scheduled class with no backlog, that hasn't happened in the past. There's been a backlog of a year to 2 years. Part of that is now we have 79 driver educators and 41 third-party examiners. So, a driving school in the Northeast Kingdom can now test their own students. It's working phenomenal. The students are a lot more comfortable sometimes taking the test. They've been with this person for several weeks. They get in and take the test. They're not as nervous as having to come to DMV and take it with one of the testers. So that program is working well. And then the rider education program is in compliance with national standards. That's the motorcycle class. I hear them on the phone every day, people calling, asking questions. The classes fill up quickly. They're not all full, but once they do get full, we'll have to see about more, I guess. So, and I know last year it was asked, or the year before it was asked if we would put on a class for everyone in the House and Senate that wanted to take it. Pat said, that's a great idea. We'll do that. So that's out there. So, and that's what I have, unless you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. Lieutenant Jeremy Stearns with Vermont DMV Enforcement Safety. I now am Section Chief over the Dealer Business Services Unit, which I was before this committee last year, sort of kicked that off where I did a presentation to show you kind of how that evolved and went into place. So now I get to come back and tell you all the great things that we've done so far and what our hopes are and trajectory to make this even better. So I was brought in from, I served as a Southern Investigation Supervisor before with Enforcement and Safety. So I covered the South for investigations. And then I was transitioned in July of 2024 to take on this. Due to our modernization efforts, prior, our system was DOS-based. So I am old enough to know what that is, but that was the whole reason why we spent the $55 million is because we needed to bring things into current times. And that has unlocked all the things that you talked about earlier, shorter lines. And I would say even before when we were DOS-based, if you went to any other DMV in the country, you waited a lot longer than you did in Vermont. I can tell you as a sworn officer, I had an appointment to go to Connecticut to meet with their investigation unit, and I had to wait in line for an hour. So it certainly has only gotten better and better as we've modernized. So why did the Dealer Services Unit sort of get created? Before, we were very compartmentalized, meaning we had everybody working on one single transaction to get it through to the end. Now, with a modernized system, we can have one person sort of walk that transaction from A to Z. We have certain barriers in place with supervisors to approve things, but it's just a much more seamless process. So with Dealer Services, the way we were doing that before, the idea was to create a one-stop shop. Our dealers are partners with DMV, and they're allowed to collect the purchase and use tax. They're allowed to help that customer at the dealership leave with a temporary plate or even a permanent plate now. So those evolutions required us to make changes. Some of the successes we heard initially way back was you can't call and get a hold of anyone. we had one information line, as I know was spoken about, where you would call 828-2000, and you might have had a dealer issue, or you might have had a personal issue with a registration or a license, whatever, and you were funneled to one sort of pain point. One of the first things we did with the dealers unit is we created, using existing numbers, 2 phone lines, ones that dealers could call about their applications, and also anybody could call about their transactions. And from that, we expanded out to make sure in that one-stop approach, we had the staffing that knew how to do these transactions, that had access to the system, and could resolve these issues. Unfortunately, and I'll talk about in the next slide, we still are very much paper reliant here in Vermont, where dealers are doing those transactions in their dealerships and mailing them still in snail mail to Vermont DMV, which we open them up, we process them in an orderly fashion, and we're still much faster than we ever were. But some of these little modernization improvements have really made our dealer partners happy and have allowed us to do things a lot faster. So again, reducing our backlog, we have statutory requirements that dealers have to provide the paperwork within a certain time period, 15 days to DMV or 30 if there's a lien involved. And that's so that when we issue a plate or they issue a plate, we can make sure that customer's never driving around illegally on the road, right? So we used to have time crunches in the old system before the modernization to now, where it was really hard to stay within those statutory frames. Now with the new system and the new model, we are at a 0 to 20-day backlog. Some of those are due to your high volume times of the year. And already I've made improvements to bring in some of our other staffing. I process transactions myself if we get into those situations where we need to catch up. So that's been a huge improvement. So the dedicated dealer service team is run by a supervisor, and we recently navigated to the first floor at DMV into a new space, which we were segmented because of all that modernization. I had some folks in one area, some in another. So now that we've been for about a month now under one roof, we've also seen gains. So we took it a step further and we opened up a public facing window. We used to have one years ago, and that was pretty much so dealers could go to the 3rd floor of DMV and get more plates, or in an urgency matter, go take care of something. And now we've, in a sense, fixed those issues, but we also wanted to give our partners an ability, if they had something that affects a customer or something that was needed by DMV urgently, they can now go to that window. A lot of them use it to drop off transactions because we're still in that snail mail process. But it's certainly, we've had positive feedback, and that's been going on for about a month. So we're talking about setting appointments and doing some cool things like the branch offices have to sort of make that better. Another focal point is our ability to change incorrect fees. Before, if the transaction was wrong by our dealer partners, we're taking that snail mail and we're sending it right back to them. And as you can imagine, statutory requirements, that's now slowing the system. We're dealing with mailing, and then we're even in more trouble. So we created, through modernization, the ability to create a direct portal with our dealers. They have an account on file, and if they send us the wrong amounts, we can bill them directly, and they hold those fees on their portal. It's all based on that My DMV portal, and we're able to not have to send paperwork back, and we're able to itemize a bill to them. They can challenge it. We go through it, and we give them now up to 30 days to pay them if there's a balance or to contest that. So that's very, very sort of has developed over this last year, and it's been very successful. Dealers like the ability to not have the paperwork go back and forth. The bulletin listserv, one of the original goals was, how do we connect with our dealer partners and communicate with them? We put bulletins up on a DMV website, but not everybody knows that they're coming or has access to that. So we really started a campaign to get all of our dealers to sign up with an email, pick people they want, and anytime we make a change, we're able to send that directly to the people at the dealerships that really need that messaging. And that's been huge for those
who say, hey, I didn't know we created this new form when I sell a used vehicle that's going to be inspected, for example. So that's been huge. The interactive map. So working under the umbrella of AOT, one of the things that we realized is we had a skilled group of folks that have drones and image the whole state and bridges, and we used their software and their ability to create an interactive map that you can go online, and we put in all of our licensed dealers so that they can actually go in and see the store hours and be able to search for dealerships within their geographic area. It also now allows them the point of contact, their field inspector, that could investigate any problems that they're having with the vehicle. So that's just a little, again, levying the power of AOT. We used them to help create us a map that we now quarterly update as dealers change locations or go out of business or new ones come. And then lastly, being able for dealers to procure more plates, temporary plates, now all that through the modernizations online, they can order that stuff, they can do renewals online. We're really going all in with their MyDMV account to be able to allow them to get the services like you or I would go to a branch and be able to get a registration done. So that's been huge. We're constantly having to tweak those, but that's been a huge upgrade where we don't have dealers calling us saying, hey, I don't have any plates, or I can't sell a car. So that's been huge. We hired for staffing 2 dedicated folks to kind of handle that, as well as processing transactions. So before I go to the next slide, I'll open it up for any questions on any of those.
Is there any, not saying complaints, but, again, years ago, 5, 6 years ago, we sort of addressed the dealer place because we thought there was too many amongst certain dealerships, and, it was maybe potential loss of purchase and use. Are they, fine with the amount that they're allowed, or would they like more? Because I think we decreased it a little bit, so I was just wondering if there's any feedback of like, oh, we need to dump that cap.
The way it was prior is they had a very finite allotment, and we audit them. So we wanted to make sure that, one, they were following through with the audit function of making sure we knew who got those plates. Since this new system, we opened it up so that they can order more at a time, but those audit functions are still in place. I would say my concern from the enforcement side is a dealer having boxes and boxes of these plates. Granted, they're locked in their dealership. It should only be certain people that have access to them, but we've seen the tail end where they have 1,000 plates and then they lose some of them, and we're trying to find them. So finding that balance, if we identify somebody's not really good with managing their plates, then we'll put them back on that prescription and say, you can only have this many, send us the logs and we'll send you more.
Great, good, thanks.
Thank you, Jeremy. You spoke about the, how some of the dealers are still using those big stacks of paperwork when they're selling cars to, customers. Do you see an opportunity with the new DMV system to transition?
That's my next slide.
Okay.
But yes, any other questions?
I have a dealer that rides my carpool, so I expect I'm gonna run all of this by him and see if his dealership agrees.
No, and I hope that was another, just I don't have a slide on it, but that was another thing is, engaging with VADA, the Dealers Association, is something that I do daily, weekly. Their issues, their members that have complaints get funneled. We work through them. They're also part of the CAP program. So mediating some of those issues with a customer, VADA and the dealer has always been a great program in the state of Vermont for resolving some of these issues quickly without going through civil process or long, lengthy situations. But as we know, when we're buying a car, sometimes, they're not wanting to go talk to that salesman because they're mad or they're angry in the moment. So sometimes having that third party involved helps move that to a resolution. So I guess we can go on to the next. The dealer interface project. This was something that was dreamed back then and is very much, as the commissioner talked about, priority lists. getting this moving forward. This is something that the dealers have been asking for, that DMV didn't have the ability to create before, but now under this modernization process is what I see as the next evolution in buying a car in Vermont. Nationwide, other states are trying to do this, and we, because we're a small state and we're very well connected with our dealerships, in other places, there's usually third parties. We have a one-to-one relationship with dealers and consumers. So we are probably the best poised to be the premier of setting the stage with all of the other states and bringing this forward. That I guess is my mini pitch. So what does this entail? This is taking the MyDMV that dealers already use and consumers use, and being able to go to a dealership and have them be able to hit a button and electronically send all those documents to the DMV. No more snail mail, no more paper. The problems with that are the federal government, shocker, and NIST level 2. And when you sign something, knowing that it all sort of circles around the odometer disclosure. That is required by the federal, and we need to somehow secure and know that the person signing that, verifying that odometer is who they say they are. So the solution here is using the MyDMV. They already have a credential through us in Vermont. They've already vetted who they are. Every one of us, when we go to a bank, right, you have the 2-level authentication, right? You've given them your phone number, they send you a text message. This is in a sense similar to that process. We would have an ability where somebody could maybe get a unique PIN. They're providing that credential to the dealer and they're verifying who they are. So that PIN's applied to the electronic signature sent to the DMV, and we're good to go. We've met all of our federal level of protection. And the dealers have been asking for this. This would greatly improve their process. It would improve the car buying process where you're not waiting around for hours, I hope. And it allows us the functionality of being able to, if they sent us the wrong stuff, to send it back to them and get those things corrected much faster than we currently have had success doing right now. Mailing costs, if you guys are going to look at this, there is considerable savings on what we pay in shipping this stuff, plates, sending stuff back. I see a potential avenue to really save there. Elimination of the lost paperwork with everything digitized. We still have current statutes that require the dealers to hold on to those physical copies. So we wouldn't have to house them at DMV. There would be a cloud per se or a secure record of them used for court for whatever purpose. But we would have to discuss on how long they had to keep those physical copies before they could be changed over or destroyed. Right now, we have boxes and boxes that we send to archives to hold on to until they're again destroyed. So I would ask this committee to look at some of those solutions if they look into this. Electronic signatures, I talked a little bit about that. We also have the ability with our partners to real-time issuance where they already can put that metal plate on that vehicle. We require they're sending us those paperwork. We could really speed up that process even more to what it already is. And that allows confidence with DMV, with the dealers and the consumer to know that they're not waiting for plates in the mail. They're good to go. Their registration, everything is live through one of this sort of project scenario. Auditing capabilities, obviously we can create flags. If we are seeing some activity, we could create some things around that. And then right now we have the backlog. We have the physical mail, which my folks open up as they receive it and process. And there's tons and tons of money and checks that are just sitting there in those boxes until we're able to process that. In this, I would look at potentially being able to create a solution where once that's sent electronically, the money has already been transferred because it's not necessarily the dealers, it's the money for purchase and use tax, it's the fees. And we have secured that where we're not having bounce checks, we're not having to go get those through a portal. I can see some solutions to it. So I'll stop there. If you have any questions? That was a lot to digest.
So thank you. So, it sounds like some great, time savings, cost savings that you're projecting here. You mentioned that this is something that the committee might want to spend more time on. Are you seeing any legislation like, are you recommending any legislation that we might want to be considering to help push this project forward? Or do you feel like you've got a pretty good sense of where you need to go without our support or?
I feel we have a good sense internally to build this. And I believe we have very good buy-in with the Dealers Association and the consumers. I think there's a communication piece that needs to go along with this. It is going to be a fundamental shift on how you buy a car, right? So, you know, again, I'm not going to speak to putting anything forward, but it is something I've obviously been an advocate for. I see this as bringing Vermont to, again, the top of, you know, bragging rights with all of our other states. And we really have the ability to take something like this and make it the premier on how you buy a car.
Anybody else? Thank you very much, Lieutenant.
Hey. Matt Russo, Deputy Commissioner for DMV. Thanks for having me back. Best for last. So we've already spoken a little bit about about VT Hall Pass and our accomplishments with the new online e-permitting system. This project was on time and under budget and is in full swing. The only thing that was left, as we last discussed, was adding municipal permits. The turnaround time previously was 4 hours. And again, those applications came in through fax, email, and they were manually processed, checks were cashed manually. And we had a 4-hour turnaround time to keep industry running. That's all done now instantaneously. As soon as the application is sent electronically, they're issued their permit. New England 511 is also integrated with an API. So road restrictions, our engineers at AOT are constantly uploading any changes in bridge restrictions, road restrictions. That's all done live. And this is, again, easy, streamlined, one-stop shop rather than having multiple locations to process.
And then you're saying the money is now all ACH, right?
Everything's done online.
Opposed to an old manual check?
Right. So you don't have to send your check in anymore. You don't have to do it, call over the phone. We used to do credit cards over the phone. Don't do that anymore. And we kept our escrow accounts. So you can still continue to use escrow.
Representative Pop?
Yeah, thanks for this. And so speaking for my town clerk, when will the municipality piece come online?
We're working on it right now. And our go live is set for July 1st.
Right, okay. Thank you.
So we're going to start with a soft go live prior to that, onboarding a couple municipalities just to see how things go. And after that, by July 1st, the hope is that we'll have all municipalities onboarded. But again, that's up to the municipality.
I would say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you know, I was in talking to the clerk and I asked specifically, is there anything, you know, that would help you? They both, you know, weighed in. These are a pain in the neck.
Yeah, sure.
And they're really hard. And I think it's $10.
It's 10 for a fleet, 5 or 6 for an individual.
Yeah. They were almost like, we'll just pay the money if we don't have to do this. It's not very much money.
Yeah, and once they're onboarded, they'll have their own account. They can sign in. It's got data and reporting. You can see how many permits are being issued, how many have been issued, how many funds you've taken in, and that's going to be all done online.
Right.
We currently have a separate weight restriction database. Municipalities sign into that database and they keep a record of their own restrictions for that municipality. That will also be integrated at the same time by July 1st when we go live with it. And once that's all done, depending on how many municipalities decide they want to join, you can get all of your permits done at once. So you know what your route's going to be, your single trip permit. You know which municipalities you're going to be going through that require permits. You can have all that done in one stop. rather than having to go out separately to each municipality, obtain that permit, and have multiple transactions.
You anticipate these municipalities want to get on board with this?
I would assume that they're gonna want to do that. It's gonna be helpful to them and us, and it's gonna be helpful to the consumer, the end user.
And they, because they filed today, they have some kind of, they know this is coming or this?
They do, yeah. We've had conversations with the League of Cities and Towns. We've done some outreach. And we're working with them to build it.
This will be one of those things you'll be reporting to us in January about how well it went.
Absolutely. Our dealer portal and our municipalities.
Oh, Commissioner Thompson.
Just to piggyback on that, this should not be that far different from, when Liquor and Water, you recently transitioned to an online portal for towns to approve their tobacco and liquor licenses or bar licenses. So towns are already kind of moved that way with some sister agencies in the state, so this should piggyback, different system, but piggyback into having that online or account access, if you will.
End of the day, it's advantageous for all parties. It's an easy, seamless job, all done in one stop.
And so I thank you for that and thank you for making me look really good. It doesn't happen that often.
It's go back, so I drew the line in the sand and said.
It's, you gotta do it.
You got it, yeah.
That's all I have. If there are any questions.
It's this,
You have something else?
yeah, no, this is the end of, because I had just a general question, just a sort of general question. Inspections, programs, the sort of enforcement of that, whose responsibility is that? And specifically, I know some larger businesses can do their own self-inspection, and I was just sort of curious, who is, overseeing that?
So I would fall under our enforcement and safety division on the inspection side.
So our inspectors, the five that we have, actually, that was in my notes, but I didn't say it, so I apologize. So they did inspection station checks, they did 1,036 of them. That was from 2021 pricing. And that's going and checking on each inspection station, making sure they have the right posting in the window, the right equipment, they're doing it properly. 2 investigations, if you didn't do it properly, if we get a call from one of your constituents saying, I had this issue, then our team will go out to investigate.
And we segmented, so I have 3 field inspectors for dealers. As you can imagine, inspection stations are within dealerships. So those 3 also will do any investigations that are related to buying a car. We had that inspection form for dealers. They're now required to have that conversation when they sell a car, which has really improved the folks that will buy a car and then go to their next visit and realize that they would pass for once the inspection.
And then there are some businesses, like dealers, I guess, are businesses, do their own inspections. But some businesses like have a whole fleet and they do their own inspections.
Commercial fleet ones can do their own inspections, yes.
They're limited there where they can only do their fleet.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
they're not what we would call a public facing inspection station. They're only doing stuff that is registered to them, so it's gotta be within their fleet and used through the fleet.
and if there was because I had a constituent ask me if there was a complaint or something that didn't seem right, where would they, report that, I guess?
That's where they would call enforcement. And speak to one of my office staff, who would then allocate work or
Yeah.
talk to whoever is in that area.
Or they can use the interactive map and we have all the regions with who the inspectors are, so if it's a station within a certain geographic
Yeah.
location, they can go to the map and it'll tell them who their
Yeah.
persons.
I mean, it could be sensitive because, they work for the business and questioning whether, so, but thank you. Helpful.
For general questions, you talked about commercial inspections of 10,000 inspections. I guess that would be more directed to you. When it comes to the various way stations, rest area, is that a kind of rotating schedule? How does it determine where you're spending the majority, where your focus is and times on the actual
Sure.
inspection pieces or the way stations in particular and whatnot?
Yeah, so it is a rotating schedule, because we receive money, federal money. We do a certain amount at those way stations, we're required to. We also have 3 smart road signs now, which basically will tell you if the truck has a flat tire without them even having to pull in. Then they'll-
I remember you testifying about that.
Right.
That was interesting.
Which is, the guys are in Mays very happy that it's working out, but generally, it's 2 to 3 times a week in a way station, and then they'll work like rural roads, interstate roaming, and we get several violations there as well. So,
We have a significant amount of Canadian traffic, I guess, on the highways and a fair amount down the southern part that are crossing to get to other places, whatnot. If you were, I don't know if this is a question how you can answer it, but in the trucking industry, people sort of know some states you can pretty much get away with anything, and some states you can't.
Right.
Where do we fit?
I would like to say we fit and say we can't get away with it.
I hope you would say that, but let me say, let's dig a little deeper. I mean, it must be, so you consider that we have a high bar of enforcement in the commercial.
I think so, and I think we can back that up with numbers, inspection, our team that's out there. Can also back it up a little bit with some of the people that I've spoken to, I'll stop at St. Marty's store in Danville. Your guys are out there busting people today, God, can't they leave it alone? And it's like, they're out there doing their job. You're be safe. I think we've been asked by New Hampshire to work with them at different times. Whether they're working on the New Hampshire side or working on the Vermont side. It's kind of like the same corridor, if you will, opposite sides. Because we are our guys are respected and I think that's a little to show their work ethic. Inspections.
Is it still more issues with owner operators versus the major haulers as far as your safety related issue and whatnot? Or I'm not sure I remember exactly how you testified about that before.
And I would have to ask, Captain Nesto, what he's seeing now. And I don't remember what his numbers were that. I believe it was owner operators with the highest number of violators, or highest number of violations. So,
Still a little bit of time for general questions about the MV, if not, or Representative Burke, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just have a question about, where length of weight, their opinion of. I mean, I have no idea, I'm just wondering, they are doing quite a bit of damage to our roads and.
I'll ask you.
Sorry, I didn't hear the whole question.
Sorry, I have a question about overweight and over length permits and whether you feel that the fees are adequate to address the damage that's caused by.
I think we probably want to work in coordination with highway. That's a tough question to answer. Yeah, they haven't changed in a while, so I'm not really sure how that equates to the road damage and the cost for road.
I've had people, and this is not necessarily related to this, but some of the overweight, override permits that come down Route 9 between Marlboro and Brownborough. It's terrifying because you've got these double wide houses or half a house on a truck, and there's ledge and there's the truck. and there's no space and people are, you know, especially in winter time, it's just, I mean, I know that it's a federal highway and we can't do anything about it, but it just, if they had to pay more, maybe they would use the asphalt.
Yeah, it would be, we'd have to compare how much we're getting in revenue for that corridor as far as overweight fees and compared to what the repairs are. So
Sorry, I didn't quite.
comparing the amount of revenue that we're getting for the permits compared to the amount that it costs to repair the roads. So we'd have to work in coordination with highway, but it's a good
Uh-huh.
question.
We'll follow up with them. at some point. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Representative White.
So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts about covered bridges and anything we could be doing to protect them from damage. So we've got overweight trucks and so forth that have to apply for permits and pay a fee to protect the roads, but are you seeing any correlation between types of trucks that are damaging our covered bridges throughout the state? Is it I mean, I don't think they're oversized trucks that aren't filing permits or they're going off their routes, but just wondering if you had any.
Yeah, not personally. I don't really have any thoughts personally. I think that, again, that's, we have to work with AOT on that. I think there was legislation that was proposed previously about higher ticket fees or other avenues to avoid those covered bridges, but yeah, nothing specific.
Yeah, we're not routing trucks through covered bridges.
Right.
That we shouldn't be.
Yes,
I say
those are all posted.
so those are all posted. And again, it's kind of like the notch. We're talking notch. Some language in our bill coming up. So that's more. How do you prevent an operator from, or how do you get an operator to pay attention? Signage, I guess, is the.
It's very comparable to the notch issue.
We did see a beautiful example of a wrought iron gate that was constructed right before you enter I think it's the Lindenville covered
Miller's
bridge,
Run.
which seems to, I know was kind of expensive, but it was a nice community project. It's pretty, it seems so.
70K.
function. But the cost of repairing bridges, yeah, it's in Waitsfield, one of our covered bridges has just been deemed structurally not intact, maybe, so. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Commissioner and the whole team, I appreciate you coming in today and giving us the status of where you're at. The plan will be for the rest of the week and into next week to start getting into the miscellaneous EMVille section by section in detail, and then seeing what else additional testimony we'll need on top of the agency piece. So I suspect we're going to see some of you again. And appreciate very much the time this afternoon. We are adjourned until 2:35.